Hi, boys and girls. Good morning. It's good to see you today. What we're doing today is we are going to multiply using a factor of 10. What that means is that one of our factors in our multiplication equations is going to be 10. And that's going to make our answers look just a little bit different than we normally see. However, it's going to give us a good pattern and help us remember our 10s really quickly. So if we multiply 1 times 7, I'm going to remind ourselves what happens when we do with 1. We multiply with 1. So 1 times 7, when we multiply that, is 7. 9 times 1, we know, is 9. Well, the difference between multiplying by 1 and multiplying by 10 is that the 1 is now moved to the tens place. So what you're essentially doing is you're saying, I'm going to replace this 1 with the 7 and then add a 0 after. Because instead of saying you have one group of 7 equals 7, you have 10 groups of 7, which would equal 70. And then we also have 9 groups of 10, which would equal 90. Now to show us this in a different way, I've put some arrays over on this sheet. If you look over here, we have that one group of 7 that we did previously. 1 times 7 gives you 7. 9 times 1 will give you 9 groups with 1 in each group, which will give you 9. But when you add a 10, you're moving this to your 1 to the tens place, which creates a whole different picture. That means now that you have 10 groups with 7 in each group, which gives you 70, and this is your array right there. The next thing is you have 9 groups of 10, that gives you 90. This is your array over here. The cool part is you can, just like we do with fives, if we counted 5, 10, 15, 20, up to the number that we were multiplying it by, you can do the same thing with tens. So we have 10 times 7. So we can take our 7 and count 10 7 times. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70. And it works the same way with 9 times 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. So you can see that when you add a 10, it takes anything like this, 1 times 7, and makes it a whole different picture to 10 times 70 into a larger array. So let's go back to our table and let's put some answers in here. We have 1 times 10. A trick that I remember it is either I count by tens or I replace the first number in this 10, the 1 in this 10, by the number I'm multiplying and then put a 0 at the end. So let me show you how that works. So 1 times 10, anything times 1 is that number, so that still works here, 10. But look at 2 times 10. You have a 2 with a 0 in the end, so that gives you 20. Then you have a 3 with a 0 in the end, that's 30. You have a 4 with a 0 in the end, that's 40. And then it goes on. 5 times 10 is 50. 6 times 10 is 60. 7 times 10 is 70. 8 times 10 is 80. And 9 times 10 is 90. So when we get down here, we are still multiplying, and we're going to replace this 1 with the full number 10. And that's going to give us 10 times 10 is 100. So you see how I have the 10 with the 0. I still could count by 10 5 times. So with me, with your own hands, hold up 10 fingers. I've got mine up. Can you count by tens 10 times with me? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. So you have 10 groups of 10. 11 times 10 is 110. You have your 11 with a 0 at the end. And then we have 12 times 10, which is going to be 120. That's 12 with your 0 at the end. You can still count by tens, but you can also remember that trick that replace the 1 in that 10 and add a 0 after. So 9 replaces that 1, and then you add a 0 at the end. For 90, it is specifically for this problem. So pretty soon you're going to get some problems that are just multiplied by 10, and you're going to have to answer them. So remember what you can do. You can either count by 10, depending on the number you're multiplying, by the number that you're multiplying. So I would count 10 3 times to get 30. Or you can remember that if you replace the 1 in a number with the number that you're multiplying and add a 0 at the end, you will get the same answer. All right, let's try it.